Good morning, YouTube. Today, Josh is going to tune the carburetors on a 250 Lusso.
So are you recording all of the nefarious activities?
If you're new to the channel, my name is Dan, and we are at my friend Jeff's garage, and this is his incredible collection of cars. You may have seen this shop before. It used to be the Petrol Lounge, but they moved, and Jeff kind of took it over because, well, he's got a couple cars, just like one or two. But here's the amazing thing. This car is a driven car, and that is why he is having Josh tune it so we can actually get it on the road. So this thing is gonna be running. I'm really curious because I don't know carburetors at all. So I'm gonna watch Josh tune this thing, get it running. We get to see and hear this beautiful Club of V12 and a 250 Lusso actually running. Good morning, Josh.
Good morning, YouTube.
You got new toys?
Yeah, I used to have just one of these, but it gets a little bit tedious chasing around the carburetors.
So that's like the flow meter thing?
Yeah, this will tell me how much air is moving through each throat of each carburetor. It's part of how we do the balance, because you got to balance airflow and fuel mixture. Fuel mixture affects airflow because the stronger the combustion, the stronger the vacuum in the cylinder. This is part of how we tell airflow balance through each throat to make sure all three carburetors and all six throats, mechanically adjusted properly. Theoretically, because we did the bench test, in a perfect world, that would mean all of these are going to be flowing exactly the same amount of air, but as we discussed, engines aren't perfect, so that's not super likely. We're going to hope that they're close enough that we don't have to do any crazy adjustments on the engine. This is just kind of a quick way to check. The other way to do this is with what's called a manometer.
Manometer.
Manometer. Try and say that.
Manometer. Manometer.
Manometer.
Manometer.
Yeah. So manometer. So manometer might also be called mercury columns.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay, so you get tubes of mercury, and you would tap into the carburetor and the vacuum ports for each one.
Okay, yeah.
And then you have
measure the vacuum.
Yep. And you got a board with the tubes with the fluid, and you see the heights of the fluid, and you adjust it until all the fluid and all the tubes are the same. But that's not really a portable tool. And since we're on site to do this one, this is going to get us really close. We might not win a racing championship tuning with this specific technique, but this car's not going to a race. So
yeah, we want street ability, right?
this tunes well enough that we'll get super close. So between that and we got a lambda tool, so we can measure the air-fuel ratio out of the two tailpipes, and of course a tool to read the engine RPM off the ignition. That's it. Again, we're not doing a dyno tuning or anything wild and crazy. We're just trying to get a good baseline setting. The car seemed like it ran pretty good. It was just gunked up, so we shouldn't be reinventing the wheel and tuning from scratch. We're just balancing and evening everything out, and then it should run and drive quite nicely. Now we got to kick the key on and pressurize the fuel rail for the first time and make sure my seals are sealing. That's test numero uno.
I just have to say, these Lussos are just beautiful. Like, what an amazingly pretty car. Yeah, just look at the crazy interior. It's just so pretty. God. Fantastic. You can hear the fuel pump, just looking for leaks.
The system creates about 3 or 4 PSI of pressure. So you remember the float bowls?
Yeah.
So those are empty, obviously, after the rebuild, so we're running the electric lift pump to fill the fuel bowls, get the carbs full of fuel,
Gotcha.
And then it'll create a positive pressure in the lines as well of about 3 or 4 PSI, and then we'll see if the fittings are leaking. It doesn't look like they're leaking yet.
Trying to purge the air out.
You got to prime, you got to get a little wet fuel in the cylinders.
Okay.
We did that. Let's see what she'll do.
Okay. Wow. It started right up.
It's almost like somebody's done that before.
Wow.
Now you see,
Yeah,
the airflow. You're pretty close.
10, 10, 10, 10, 10, and 10. Wow. Like get my microphone down there. Oh, the smell. Oh yeah, that smells good. Idling around 1,000.
Yeah, about where we want to be. When it warms up, it might start to pick up RPM, and I might have to drop it down a little bit, but we gotta see what the fuel mixture and stuff is.
Idling really smooth.
Not bad.
So what's this?
This is the Lambda reader, or the AFR.
Okay.
So we're actually measuring the fuel mixture out of the tailpipe.
It's kind of wandering around between 12 and 14.
Yeah, 13 plus or minus. You see one bank's a little bit more steady than the other.
Oh, okay, yeah, there's two.
Since I'm not using a choke and the motor's cold, that seems about right. As it warms up, we might have to roll some of that fuel out, but that's pretty close to where it should be. Now, a lot of times cold start, that's what your choke does, is it seals off air and allows a little extra fuel, so that way you run over rich when you're cold, because engine combustion is extra inefficient when the engine is cold. So you got to run more fuel through it to get it to run. So that's one of the reasons why they run rough and smell stinky and all that, and don't drive well when they're cold.
I can feel it in my eyes.
Oh yeah,
These goggles do nothing.
My eyes, the goggles do nothing.
Something to note is I intentionally did what I expect to be an over-rich base setting on the mixture screws to help it start up and idle like this. So I expect that reading to be too rich, but I wanted that because you see the car's just running without having to finagle it. Nothing's worse than you trying to fire a car up on fresh carburetors. And it won't start, and you can't tell if you did something wrong with the carburetors or whatever. You know, you got a problem with the ignition, the fuel system, you don't know because you're fighting with it. So, again, through experience and knowing what the base settings are supposed to be physically, right? The mechanical mixture screws have, on Weber's, you do it by number of turns on the screw. So most of your books will tell you 1.5 turns off from the seat is your ideal setting. I know that he runs non-ethanol fuel in this car, and I know that we're running factory jetting. So that means a standard book setting of 1.5 turns out on the mixture screws should get us where it's supposed to be for the idle mixture. Because of that, I know doing a cold start for the first time with fresh carburetors, I want it to be easy and all of that. So I actually run 2 turns out on mixture screws.
A little bit extra rich.
So that way I don't have to use the choke, because I don't want to use the choke. And then once it warms up, you hear it's already picking up a couple hundred RPM.
Yeah, it's already up a little bit in the RPMs. It looks like it's closer to 15.
And then we'll roll those mixture screws down a half turn to the 1.5. And then do our airflow adjustments to get the idle speed where it's supposed to be.
So what's the target idle speed?
It's about 1,000.
Okay.
Yeah, about 1,000 RPM, plus or minus, 50, 100, because they wander a little bit.
It'll move around a little. It's not exactly electronic ignition.
It is, but with the carburation and stuff, the fuel metering and burning is not perfect, Unlike your 458, where they can calibrate the fuel injection and ignition timing on each cylinder individually, and they have 18 ways to monitor how that's working, so they're constantly trimming it in microseconds. This just is what it is. You got 10 degrees of initial timing, all 12 cylinders all the time, no matter what, and the carburetors flow whatever fuel, the cylinder determines by how well it's firing, and that's it. It's pretty archaic, you kind of get what you get to a certain degree.
You can't always get what you want.
1,300. Okay.
Airflow engine RPM affects fuel mixture because, as we said, the carburetors are just a vacuum basically to pull fuel through. So as we see, we're super rich, but our RPM, I just brought it down so it's pretty close to ideal idle.
Oh God, really rich. My eyes are really burning back here.
Woo.
So what adjustment is that?
This is the fuel mixture here at idle.
Oh, okay. trying to lean it out a little.
Yep,
So as you lean it, the RPM will pick up, right?
yep,
So you gotta lean it out, then reduce the idle.
yep.
Yep, I can hear it come up a little. Yeah, look at that. Came up a full 100 RPM. Oh, whoa, 200. Yep. Now we check the AFR. What are we at?
13s.
Oh, 13.
That one side's running a little fat for some reason, but
Oh yeah, way fat.
all right. So now we're back at 1,000 plus or minus, right?
Yep.
See how our airflow is down? It's at about 8 kilograms an hour from
Yep.
the 10 we started at.
Yep. The water temp's finally up, the oil's still cold. This thing takes a long time to warm up.
Yeah, probably not quite there. Let it run for a second and then I'm going to shut it off. As you see, when I did a quick check on those linkages,
Yeah.
they're not all in the same position, right?
Right.
So now I've got, you know, I'll call it my master linkage at the rear. The other two are long or short. So I'll have to loosen up the crank arms and slide them and set them. Because again, I believe the carburetors were set up pretty well originally.
Right.
So I don't think I have to reinvent the wheel as far as measuring the length of the rods and stuff.
Right.
Because what'll happen now, right? So we know that they're balanced at idle with no linkage. So then you put all the linkages on, you roll it up to about 2,000 RPM, you know, or whatever. I mean, these are small meters on the 3 carbs, so they're already flowing at, you know, 10 kilograms.
Yeah, so it's gonna peg it pretty quick.
Yeah, so maybe 1,500 RPM, and we check it and make sure that at 1,500 RPM, they're all at about 20.
Okay.
And that tells me that the linkages are all the correct length, right? Because if one's a lot
too long or too short, it'll be opening differently.
correct, yep.
Yeah.
You got your base settings. Now we're gonna loosen up the bell cranks and reposition the arms so the arms are all on, you know, at this rest position using the back carburetor as a reference. Then we'll roll it up to 1,500, make sure they're all flowing about the same, so that way we know the rods are all the same length,
Yep.
and then we know geometrically, you know, everything's doing what it should, and then we're ready to go take it for a ride and see if it actually wants to run on all 12 cylinders like we intend for it to.
The glorious part.
Yeah, and let's preface that a while back before we started on the carburetors, we had already drained out the old fuel, put some fresh fuel in it, ran that through, already put a fresh set of spark plugs in it. You know, we did a couple real basic things hoping to avoid getting into the carburetors.
Yeah.
So we've already done that stuff. So at this point, we know for sure we, you know, had a 90% carburetor problem, and that's why
Yep.
what we're doing today.
It's already sounding like it's running pretty smooth.
I think so. Obviously, that one bank's a little bit funny.
The right bank seems to be going a little bit leaner, or a little bit rich.
Yeah.
It's not horrible.
Yeah, well, the thing is, you know, I don't know what the compression link down is on this motor or what the cam timing is. I haven't done a full ignition system. You know, there's a lot of other wild cards. So instead of fretting over it, this gentleman just recently got this car and basically couldn't drive it because the carburetors are all gummed up. So I'm not trying to build, you know, an award-winning tune right now. I just want it to run nicely enough that
He can drive it.
He can hit the key, fire it up, and go take it for a quick ride, you know. And then after he gets to drive it a couple times, you know, if there's some flat spots and stuff in it, you know, and we have to do some more tuning work, we know. Right now, the car wouldn't even run well enough to know, you know, if it needs more tuning work. So,
Yep.
you know, you gotta, you know, there's A, B, and C, and we started at A minus. So we're just trying to get the A right now.
All right, so there's the linkage arm.
Yep.
This needs to be extended out because it's too short.
This one's too long.
That one's too long.
That one's also too long.
Way too long in that one.
Yep. So we're gonna loosen up these our pinch bolts.
Yep.
So we're gonna loosen up these pinch bolts and roll this lever on the rod.
Oh,
so that
okay.
way it'll clip on here.
Oh, that's where it is. Okay, yeah.
Yep. Yeah,
Cool.
you've got that, and then you've got the turnbuckle as well.
Okay.
In a perfect world, I'd take all these off, set them on the bench, and measure them from pin to pin,
Yeah.
and make sure they're all the exact same length, and then, you know, do this check. But I'd like to believe that the last guys did a nice job, because this is overall a pretty nicely done car. So
I'll say this is a pretty clean car.
yeah, so we're gonna shortcut it and, you know, just loosen the cranks and put them on there, and again, get it close enough. There. See that? Now
Yep,
that
yep.
arm is totally loose.
Yep.
So I've got that one back there set, so that's our anchor point. Now we do that. Right?
And the butterfly should be fully closed at this point, right?
Yeah, yeah. These are the rest stops for the butterflies.
Yep.
That's what I was adjusting to
So that
change
sets
idle
the
speed.
Idle speed, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, this is purely for the opening.
Yep. Those seem like they clip on way too easy.
There's a metal slide clip here.
Oh,
That
okay,
will
we have
keep
to
it
pop on.
captured. Yep.
Okay. It's just off right now.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah, as you see, like
Oh, that
this
one already
arm.
fell off. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, that doesn't seem right, man.
Yeah. We wouldn't get too far.
No, tap the gas once and it'd go away.
Yeah, man. I'm happy with it right now.
Clips on.
Yep.
All right.
Clips on, verified that the clamps are tight. That center one, I think the threads have been kind of stretched a bit and it didn't
Oh.
really want to tighten up. So I did a quick check and it was still loose on the shaft, so I had to give it another crank.
You put a lot of meat on it too.
Yeah, it shouldn't take that much on that small of a bolt.
Yeah. All right. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Fire in the hole.
Yep. Wiggling. That's a problem.
Yep.
Got a little play in it.
Yeah, and this is the one that's really stiff.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause see that one there? As soon as I, same thing.
Yeah, so that center one's not good.
No. And
It
the
was kind
problem,
of wiggly.
yeah, it's kind of a trick because you don't see that it's,
Say if you pull it just a tiny bit and put a little tension on it.
well, the
maybe?
trick is doing it without opening the
Without
the
actually touching the butterflies. Oh yeah, I can see by the way your hand's jolting that it's definitely
This is ridiculously.
something's wrong with the threads.
That's better.
A little better, yeah.
Yep.
A little better.
See what it does? I didn't like that the RPM were hanging
when you
after
pull
blipping it like
The
that.
throttle linkage.
That's not ideal.
Tiny bit. Oops. Where is it? There. See, it's smooth. Before it was kind of like wiggly.
Yep. That's a technical phrase in the tuning
wiggly.
book.
It's definitely technical.
In the engine tuning master book, wiggly is definitely a technical phrase used
yeah.
frequently.
What's the Italian for wiggly?
Spazzola?
Spazzoli.
There we go.
This thing will definitely burn your eyes.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's no cats or
No,
EGR.
nothing. Woo. Oh, that doesn't take long.
See how the RPMs are scattering really high?
Yeah.
Sometimes that indicates an ignition.
Like a bad wire or something?
Yeah, or the pickup in the distributor.
Oh, it's firing up. I see. So it's like picking up a different ignition firing.
Exactly. 2 cylinders might be crossing each other. That was a lot better.
Yeah, came right back down.
I think we're gonna run with that and see how it drives.
Okay. Nice.
So again, is that perfect? No. Could it use a little more? Yes, but
It's pretty darn good.
I think we're at that 90% mark where it's worth driving the car, and because nothing's more irritating than spending all day getting it super close, and then you go drive it and it drives like total dog crap, and then you got to do something like fix the ignition. So you just spent hours making these micro adjustments.
And it's still not
And
perfect.
Yeah, and then you got to redo it all because you fix whatever else is going on. So my personal preference is to get it literally close enough, go drive it and make sure there's not any major obvious concerns. And then it's like, okay, now we'll spend 3 or 4 hours getting that last 10% and getting it spot on.
Makes sense to me.
Because time is money.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that cable.
Yep.
Is the choke.
Yeah, it manually actuates some parts in the carburetor. That's your choke lever cable.
So it kind of seals off the venturis or whatever.
Yeah, it kind of forces more fuel and seals off some of the air going through the carburetor. As you could see today, you don't really need them when the carburetors are set up real nice in this kind of climate, you know?
Yeah.
We're not
Well, I'll say it's like 90 out today.
Yeah, we're not in Norway in the middle of December. So a lot of times I'll leave this stuff, all loose and not worry about it, so that way it can actually be used, because you can over-enrichen, right, and then flood the carburetors.
And burn out all your plugs.
Yep.
All right, getting the air filters on.
Yep.
And it's going to go for a little spin. Cool. Oh,
Sure.
yeah, probably worth checking the oil.
That is a critical component to most internal combustion engines.
Especially expensive ones that have a lot of oil.
Yeah, if this was a Prius, we'd roll the dice.
Hey, those cats in the Priuses are worth a lot of money.
They are.
They're getting
They're worth
stolen
more
left
than a
and right.
Prius.
They are. Oh, dude. They're like $2,000 or something crazy, maybe even 3.
Because they have a lot of platinum and stuff in them.
Yeah, so people are running around stealing them out of the Priuses. They just jack them up, like just put one jack under the side and yank out the cat. And,
Yeah, they'll sawzall them right out.
Sawzall.
I saw a picture on the internet of a guy with like a big diesel truck, and he took all that steel braided cable that you use to like support like structures with, and he wrapped his catalytic converter in it. It's like, good luck, suckers.
So this one you check while it's not running?
Yeah, this is a normal wet sump
Okay,
engine.
there's no
This is
dry
not a
sump.
dry sump.
Gotcha. What type of oil is that?
Well, whatever it is, it's got some crazy film strength. Because you remember when we dropped some on the fender and like we were trying to wipe it and it was like
Yeah, it was a mess.
wax? Like, what?
It just won't come off.
That is a black art what he does, because